The night I asked about the chair, my father did not answer me at first. His hand froze in the air, holding the lantern, and his eyes went hard, like he was looking at something far away. That was when I knew the chair was not an ordinary chair. Before that night, I thought my father would shout at me or tell me to mind my business. Instead, he just stood there, breathing slow, like the room had swallowed his air. I felt fear enter my chest, the kind that makes your stomach turn. I almost took back my question, but it was already hanging between us like a broken rope. That chair had been there every night of my life. My father always carried it before sleeping. He never forgot, even when rain beat the roof hard, even when light did not come for days, even when he was sick and tired, the chair must be beside the bed. Not close to the wall, not near the door, beside the bed, facing him. I am the youngest in the house, so people think I do not notice things, but children see plenty things. We just keep quiet. I noticed how my father talked toward the chair when he thought nobody was watching. I noticed how his eyes would shine with water that never fell. I noticed how he never allowed anybody to sit on that chair. If visitors came and tried to drag it, he would clear his throat and say that one is not for sitting. Nobody argued with him. The house had learned to accept the chair the way it accepted the broken fan and the wedding picture that never came down from the wall. Mama was smiling in that picture. She always smiled like that. Mama died when I was small, but not too small to forget her. They said she was buried in the village. That is where dead people go. So why was her chair still in our room? That night, darkness covered the house. Generator noise was flying from other compounds. Mosquitoes were singing. My brothers were already sleeping. I stood at the door and watched my father place the chair with care, like he was laying a baby down. My heart was beating fast. I asked him who the chair was for. That was when his hand stopped. He sighed, like a man who had been running for many years. Then he said the chair was for my mother. I told him Mama was buried in the village. He shook his head slowly and said she has been here. Those words followed me into my sleep and woke me up again. I did not understand them, but I felt them. I felt that the chair was holding something heavy, something that had refused to leave our house. That night, my father did not push the chair closer to the bed. He just sat and looked at it for a long time, like he was waiting for someone to talk back. And for the first time in my life, I felt like the chair was looking at me too. After that night, sleep stopped coming to me like before. I would lie down and listen to my father breathe. I would listen for the sound of the chair touching the floor. Each small sound felt loud inside my head. The chair did not move from its place. Morning came and went. My brothers woke up, washed their faces, and rushed out. Life continued like nothing had changed, but something had changed for me. The chair now had a face in my mind. It was no longer empty. That evening, I pretended to sleep early. I faced the wall and kept my eyes half closed. The lantern light shook on the wall. I felt my father sit on the bed. I heard him drag the chair closer, the way he liked it. Then he spoke. He did not speak loud. He did not speak like he was talking to me or my brothers. His voice was low and tired. He said the children were growing fast. He said money was not enough. He said the roof might not survive another rainy season. He paused many times, like he was listening to answers I could not hear. My chest began to hurt. I wanted to cry, but I held it inside. I realized my father had been talking to the chair every night, and we were all sleeping like nothing was happening. He said sorry for things he did not explain. He said he tried his best. He said the house felt too quiet without her voice. When he said her name, his voice broke. He did not say Mama. He said her real name, the one only grown people used. That was when I understood something important. My father was not strong the way people thought. He was just quiet. The next day, I followed him around the house. I watched how he moved slower now, how his shoulders bent forward, how he paused sometimes like his body was heavy. I wondered how long he had been carrying the chair and the memories together. In the afternoon, my aunt came to visit. She noticed the chair and shook her head. She told my father it was time to move on. She said the dead should rest. My father did not answer her. He just nodded and looked at the floor. That night, he did not talk much to the chair. He only sat and held his hands together. The room felt tight. I felt angry at my aunt. I felt angry at death. I even felt angry at the chair for making my father suffer. I wanted to carry it outside and hide it, but my legs refused to move. Instead, I stood up and sat on the floor near my father. He looked at me, but said nothing. We stayed like that for a long time. I realized then that the chair was not the problem. The problem was the love that had nowhere to go. That night, my father slept late. The chair stayed beside him, and I stayed awake, listening to silence, knowing that some things do not die when people die. They just sit quietly and wait to be noticed. The day the chair almost left the room was the day I learned how close pain can hide behind normal life. It was a Saturday morning. The sun was already hot. My brothers were outside arguing over who would fetch water. My father sat on the bed, rubbing his knees. The chair was where it always stayed, quiet, facing him. Then my uncle came. He did not knock. He never did. He entered the room and looked around like a man checking a place he owned. His eyes stopped on the chair. He frowned. He said, "That chair is still here." My father did not answer. My uncle said, "It has been many years." He said people were talking. He said my father was holding himself back. He said the chair was not helping anybody. Each word felt like a slap. I stood by the door holding my breath. My uncle walked to the chair and touched it. My heart jumped into my throat. My father stood up fast. His voice rose in a way I had never heard before. He told my uncle to leave it. The room became hot with anger. My uncle laughed small and said, "It is just a chair." He dragged it a little. That was when my father shouted. I had never seen him shout like that. His face changed. His eyes went red. His hands shook. He said, "Do not touch it." My uncle stopped smiling. He dropped the chair like it burned him. The chair hit the floor and one leg made a dull sound. I thought it would break. Silence filled the room. My uncle said my father was not well. He said grief had entered his head. He said people were worried. My father did not argue. He sat back on the bed slowly. His shoulders dropped. He looked tired. He said nothing again. My uncle shook his head and walked out. After he left, the room felt empty and full at the same time. My father stared at the chair like he had been betrayed. He stood up and checked the leg that hit the floor. It was fine. He sat back down and covered his face with his hands. That was when I went to him. I did not know what to say. I just stood close. He removed his hands and looked at me. His eyes were wet. He said sometimes people think time can clean everything. He said some things do not want to be cleaned. They want to be remembered. I did not fully understand, but I nodded. That evening, my father did not place the chair himself. He waited. He looked at it for a long time. Then he asked me to help him move it closer. My hands shook as I dragged the chair. It felt heavier than before. That night, my father did not talk much. He just sat and breathed. I stayed awake thinking about how easy it was for people to say "let's go" when they were not the ones holding on. The chair stayed. But something in my father had cracked, like the small lines on the chair legs. I could see it, and I knew that one day, something would have to change. The change did not come like thunder. It came like small rain that soaks the ground without noise. After my uncle left, my father became quieter. Not the normal quiet I knew, but a deeper one. He still carried the chair every night, but his hands shook more. Sometimes he would stop halfway and rest, breathing hard,
like the chair had gained weight. One night, I woke up and did not hear him talking. That scared me more than when he talked. I turned on my side and saw him sitting on the bed, looking at the chair. The lantern light was low. Shadows filled the room. The chair stood there, faithful, waiting. My father did not look angry. He looked tired, very tired. I sat up slowly. My heart was beating fast. I asked him if he was okay. He did not answer at first. He nodded once, then shook his head. Then he patted the space beside him. I moved close. For a long time, we just sat there. The chair was between us, closer to him than to me. Then my father spoke. He said the night my mother died was the quietest night of his life. He said she asked for the chair because she wanted to sit and look at him properly. She said lying down made her feel like she was already gone. He said he held his hand and told him not to fear. She said the children would grow. She said life would move on, even if she did not. He said she died sitting on that chair with her eyes open, looking at him like she was memorizing his face. As he spoke, his voice did not shake, his eyes did not cry, but his hands were cold when I touched them. He said after they took her body away, the room felt empty, too empty, so he brought the chair home. He said it was the last place she sat as herself, not as a patient. He said removing the chair felt like removing her again. I felt something tight in my chest. I wanted to cry, but my tears refused to come. He said people think grief is loud. He said his own grief was quiet and stubborn. It liked routine. It liked that chair. He said some nights he talked to it because he did not want to forget her voice in his head. He said some nights he stayed quiet because even grief gets tired. Then he looked at me. He said he knew I had been watching. He said children always know more than adults think. He said he was sorry for making the house heavy. I shook my head. I told him the house was not heavy. It was just full. He smiled small. That was the first real smile I had seen on his face in a long time. That night, he did not pull the chair too close. He left a small space between it and the bed, not far, just enough to breathe. As he lay down, he did not turn his face toward the chair. He faced the ceiling. I stayed awake for a long time, listening to his breathing. It was slow. It was calm. The chair stayed in its place, but for the first time, it felt like it was listening too.
The morning the chair rested, nothing special happened at first. The sun came in through the window like it always did. Birds made noise outside. My brothers argued over food. The house woke up the same way it always woke up. But I noticed my father did not reach for the chair when he got up. He sat on the bed for a long time, rubbing his eyes. The chair stood where it was from the night before, a small space still between it and the mattress. My father looked at it, then looked away. That had never happened before. He stood up and walked outside. He washed his face. He greeted the neighbors. He even laughed once. The sound surprised me. It sounded new, like something that had not been used in a long time. Later that day, rain started falling. Not heavy rain, just small drops that made the ground smell fresh. My father stood by the window and watched it. The chair stayed in the room, alone. In the evening, when it was time to sleep, I followed my father inside. I watched him closely. He lit the lantern. He removed his slippers. He sat on the bed. He did not touch the chair. My heart began to beat fast. I did not know if I should be happy or afraid. He looked at the chair and nodded, like he was greeting someone he knew well. Then he pushed it a little farther from the bed, just a little. The chair scraped the floor softly. He lay down. He did not talk. The room felt different, not empty, just open. Days passed like that. The chair stayed in the room, but it stopped moving closer. My father stopped talking to it. He started talking more to us. He asked about school. He asked about our friends. He complained about food. Small things, but they filled the house. One afternoon, I found him dusting the wedding picture on the wall. He wiped my mother's face gently. He smiled. He did not cry. That night, he asked me to help him carry the chair. My hands shook again, but not from fear this time. We carried it to the corner of the room. He placed it there, facing the wall. He stood back and looked at it. I waited for him to break down. He did not. He breathed in and out slowly. He said some things stay with us forever, but they do not have to sit beside us every night. He lay down and slept. I stayed awake, listening. The house was quiet, but it was a good quiet, the kind that lets you rest. The chair stayed in the corner, not thrown away, not forgotten, just resting. And I understood then that love does not end, it only learns where to sit.